got more. I'll give it to you. How we all doing? Good? Good. All right. Who has the first question for Jacoy and Raphael? Who wants to start? Okay.
Yeah, obviously great win. Two questions. One first to Jacoy. You and Darren obviously are kind of the holdovers, like the leaders of this team, the guys playing the minutes in those key moments. How did it feel for you, games tied, 5 minutes left, in that huddle, knowing that you and Darren are going to have to step up and kind of lead this team despite being young players on the court?
I think it's just the preparation. You know, like Coach always preaches, like we were thrown in the fire last year, playing big minutes as young guys on the team as freshmen. So kind of got us ready for this moment right here. And then we got, plenty of other pieces like Raphael, Trey Moss, Gerald, Trey Autry, CJS, just complement us and, make things even easier.
And for you, obviously the defensive scheme that Caputo likes to run, there's a ton of kind of free guys that get past the wings, and then there's one big five. You were that big five taking over stretch role. What's your kind of mindset on the defensive end, like knowing you're going to be faced with a lot of block opportunities and staying out of foul trouble?
Yeah, my mindset with that is kind of like you said, just my teammates trusting me making a block if they do get beat, and kind of just protecting the rim and doing what I can to defensively get a stop.
Yeah, first of all, 3 double-doubles for both you and June in the first 3 games. Can you talk about like you two as a duo and how you fed off each other?
Yeah, definitely. I think rebounding is just hustle. It's really a choice, just going up there and get it. And I know June is going to match my energy on that. And then as far as the scoring, just playing with unselfish teammates is just a great thing. They're going to find me, and I'm going to make the right play.
Yeah. Can you guys just talk about the start to the second half and sort of what you saw from NCA&T that sort of let them catch you guys and make it a game?
Well, first off, props to them. They're a really good team. They got some really good players. Hit some tough shots, I would say. They just got it going. Basketball is a game of runs, and I'm just glad we were able to make the adjustment. But, we kind of came out a little lackadaisical. Just something we can learn from moving forward.
And so sorry, just to follow up, can you talk about some of those adjustments that you did make to sort of get back in front and close the win?
It was a little bit like a mix of, the coaches telling us some things to do, but I think the most important thing was like us on the court, like especially him being the 5-man, telling us what he sees in the ball screens, helping us, and also holding his end up on the end. So I think that was the most important thing, making those in-game adjustments as players.
This is for either of you, might lean more towards Raphael, but you guys outscored A&T 48-28 in the paint. I feel like we saw more of like having you and Hansen on at the same time. We had bigger guys on the court in the paint. Is that something that Caputo had in the game plan coming into tonight?
Yeah, definitely. I think attacking the rim was definitely the game plan. And, as long as we keep attacking the rim at the rate we're doing, it's going to make it easier for the three-point shooters. As long as they crash us inside, we're going to kick it out to them, and they're going to make the shot.
You were 8 for 9 from the line tonight, and the team as a whole was 16 for 18. Can you talk about like what you guys do to perform well there and how that came into play tonight?
I think the biggest thing with free throws is just mental. Like, it's a free shot. It's the easiest shot in the game. So we gotta make every one of those count. So I don't really think it's nothing special, like no magic or anything that we're doing. I think it's just focusing, knowing that those points, every point matters in these close possession games. So.
Raphael, you had 5 offensive rebounds this game. It's clearly been a part of your
Big
guys'
time.
identity. Sorry.
I said big time.
And then 12 total rebounds. How important is that to your guys' success so far?
I think it's very important. Like I said, I'm an energy guy, so that's what I'm going to do. And I just hope my teammates can match my energy on that. Crashing the offensive board is going to be big for us this year.
Raphael, we've talked in the preseason about how you want to refine your touch around the rim. Can you just take me through that play in the first half where you steal the inbounds play, dribble all the way down, post spin, and then you just lay it down all on the rim? What was going through your mind?
What's going through my mind is you're a big guard. That's what I'm telling myself. You're a big guard. You're a big guard. So, I don't know. I kind of just trusted my guard on that one, hit a little hedgy spin move, and thankfully I finished that play. If I didn't finish that play, I probably would have sat right next to Caputo after that. So, yeah.
So obviously, like scoring bigs and like skilled bigs have been kind of an issue for this team in the past, and especially when we get to A10 play, there's a lot of really good power forwards that have kind of had success in the past. Nicholas Jacoidis went 5 for 6, had 10 points. What's kind of the mindset of like going forward, containing these stretch fours with like really good drop step games, kind of going into the future?
I think it's just trusting our big guys. We see it every day in practice. Like I know you guys can see it out there. We trust him playing one-on-one in the post. So, it's just learning how, help him when he needs help, and also rotating on the backside, because a lot of times, we are scared to help him a little bit, and then, he kicked the ball off a shot. So, like, it's a two-way street. So I think it's just trusting him with it and then also having his back.
Scott?
Jacoy, with you taking over the offense this year, 7 of 25 from 3, and, we've seen a little bit of a struggle from deep so far. What is the mentality that you have, and what's the mentality that coach gives you in terms of, facilitating for your other teammates when shots aren't going down but they're good looks?
Yeah, it's just, staying process-oriented. I shoot those shots every day. Same thing with my teammates. We've been struggling from three-point line as a team, I would say, for sure. And, that's why we've been trying to attack the paint, putting the ball on the rim. That's why it's been giving us success, and we know that the shots are going to fall. So I think it's just, staying process-oriented and focus on things we can control. We're going to get those open shots, so they're going to eventually fall.
Rafael, this year you sort of obviously stepped into a much bigger role than you had your first 2 years in college basketball. Can you sort of just talk about that increase in responsibility, how you've been able to have so much success and really become one of these team stars at the early part of the season?
Yeah, it really starts with just being an everyday guy in practice and in my workouts and just translating that to the court. And like Jacoy said, my teammates instilling trust in me, and me just doing out there and doing my job, doing whatever I can to get the win.
Does it feel good to get a bigger role?
Definitely, it feels great. I'm very appreciative, so it's kind of what I've been waiting for. So.
Last one.
Yeah, Rafa, I don't know if you saw that your dunk got clipped and was all over ESPN. How does it feel to have a poster in a viral moment?
It feels great. I actually didn't know that, so.
Yeah, which one? Which one?
The spin move.
The spin move.
Oh, so from today?
ESPN.
Yeah. He deserved that. Let me see that.
Yeah, that's dope. That's
Yeah.
dope.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but I kind of don't really pay attention to that, I'm on to the next game already,
Yeah,
so
he gonna do
hopefully I
it
get
again.
another one, though.
So I say he's going to do it again next time.
Already.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I
Appreciate
appreciate
your
it.
time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rafael.
All right, we'll start with an opening statement from Coach, and then questions.
Yeah, I was very concerned with North Carolina A&T. Watching them play at Wake the other day, Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember which day it was, but they were really, really good. I think it might be the score. Wake got away from them just a little bit at the end, but it was basically a close game throughout. And Steve Forbes is a good friend of mine, and I talked to Steve a little bit yesterday, and he's like, "Hey, those guys can go, and they're not going to stop." And that was the other thing, and so kind of knew that they weren't going to just stop playing, and they certainly didn't. And when we go up 14, I think on Slim's dunk, we were playing pretty good, and I was hopeful that we could extend that lead and play well and not put them away, but get comfortable in the first half, more continuing on good play. And we did to some degree, because we got it back to whatever it was, 11, and it was 13, and then they called it wasn't a goaltend, or it was a goaltend, so it was 11. And okay, they're starting with the ball, and I thought a couple of pretty good looks from us that just didn't go in got them going, and they didn't really stop going until that stretch where we were able to take over and win the game. So I was proud of our group. And again, I thought a good opponent, like a team that has, multiple guys. I mean, if you look at Forrest, Lamoth, Glasper, Shell can really pass. He didn't have a great night, but those guys are dangerous. They're hard to guard. They're very hard to guard in space. And, have to watch to see where we could have done better, but some of them are very difficult shots.
Game got a little intense, maybe even a little bit chippy, some foul calls not going your way. What were you
Yeah.
telling the guys during the
Yeah, I mean, I was, I would just say, just the poise to do what we need to do on the defensive end, keep being process-oriented, understand that they were being challenged one-on-one a lot. And, I was on the refs a little bit. I mean, Darren Buchanan gets fouled so much. He led our league in getting fouled. He's in the paint so much. He shoots 4 free throws. He's just, and I understand it's difficult to officiate guys like that. But I'm not allowed to bet. But I would guess that when we go back and watch, he's getting hammered on nearly every drive. Because you can't keep him in front. And so, difficult guy to officiate for the officials, but we also got to understand that he led our league in getting fouled last year. Shooting 4 free throws is, when we're taking that many shots at the rim, it's tough.
We asked Jacoy when he was in here about kind of like 5 minutes left, game's tied, a game that is a tough opponent, but kind of a sneaky opponent, one
Yeah.
you want to win comfortably. With Darren and Jacoy obviously getting that like thrown in the fire experience, you knew this when we had these press
Yeah.
conferences, like the most freshman minutes. How do you feel as a coach seeing that you have 2 sophomores as the leaders of your team?
Yeah, and they're sophomores. You know, it's not like they're in their 4th and 5th, 6th year like a lot of guys. You know, and so they're still young. They're still learning. They're still going through a lot. But certainly their experience last year, it's hard to take those guys off the floor right now because they play both ends of the floor and they're very reliable, which is, you know, you're trying to build trust, and they've done it at an early age.
Gerald Drumgoole had a pretty strong night
Yeah.
after a couple first quiet games on the team. Being one of the older guys on the team, obviously coming in as a transfer, how do you see his role kind of evolving as he steps into his own with GW?
Yeah, I mean, obviously his shooting, you know, we tried to talk to him about when you focus on he's a good shooter, obviously 37, 38 last year, 200 attempts. But if all you think about is where the ball's going in or not, that's usually how you don't play well. The best way to play well and to shoot well is to actually think about all the other parts of the game. And he responded pretty well here in that stretch when we, you know, took the lead and made a couple big ones for us, which is what we need him to do. We're, again, like, this is no secret. We're not a great shooting team. You take Garrett Johnson off the team. You know, if you have him and Garrett out there with Darren and Jacoy, all of a sudden, now you have a lot of shooting on the court. Okay, now you take that team and throw Sean Hansen at the 5 sometimes. Now you got a lot of shooting around Darren. But the minute you take one guy out, who's a great, great shooter like Garrett, it puts a lot of onus on a guy like Gerald to make the open ones, you know? And I think when we go look at this, I mean, pretty clean looking threes that we had tonight. So.
48 points in the paint tonight. Can you talk about the importance of scoring in there for you guys, especially with Castro and June?
Yeah, hugely important. We didn't dominate the glass the way I would have wanted. I think we did have 11 offensive rebounds, but we need more than that. Did we steal the ball 11 times? Jeez. That's 11 steals, pretty good. That's got to be like a good number here, right? You know, it's, again, so important. We're not just a spacing 3-point team where we can just hoist up 43s. We're going to need to dominate the paint. And I actually thought NCA&T did a good job in the second half of sort of limiting that. But some of that, again, is the threes are wide open. We miss them. If we're spread, if June's on the perimeter, it's hard to, like, he's playing 36 minutes. I want him to be all over the offensive glass. And yet also, no, man, he's doing a lot. And he's often out on the perimeter at times and running in and then running back and then having the ball and guarding other people. I mean, it's a lot, you know.
Sid?
We saw the team come out with kind of more fire than we saw in the first half of the first couple
Yeah.
of games, beginning of the season, last season as well. What changed in the locker room or in practice that you emphasized to the guys before coming out tonight?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think, I thought the first game was just the first opening game jitters, and I couldn't put a finger on it. Otherwise, we didn't, our practices were not quite as good leading up to today. And I reminded them, you know, we really got to continue to get better every day. But again, I thought our defensive edge was there, led to some good offensive play. And we were in that little spot up 14 where I thought, man, we have gotten off to a great start. And just couldn't sustain it off those misses, I think, in the second half. But again, we haven't put like 5 guys having a really good game together yet, but I think the starting group has done a good job defensively for sure.
I was just wondering if sort of your bigger takeaway from the second half was the fact that, you know, North Carolina A&T was able to get back into the game and sort of take a brief lead, or the way that you guys were able to respond to that and sort of come back.
Yeah.
And what you sort of,
It's hard to
how you interpret that.
It's probably hard to tell until you watch, but I would say, again, in my mind, it was missed open shots, kind of giving them a little bit of a head of steam, and then I need to see what happened in that time, you know. But certainly, I think our group is good enough where I didn't feel like, man, we got no way to climb out of this. You know, I thought we had a good way. We had some good things that we did to climb out of it. They were switching their defenses a little bit, and you know, we're gonna see some more zone probably, I'm sure. So we're gonna prepare for that.
No Ty Bevins and no Dion tonight.
Yeah.
Can you just give an update on?
Yeah, Ty just hurt his foot in practice, no fracture or anything like that. So he's just day to day. Dion's getting closer to non-contact, and you know, be good to. Told them it's like you're a freshman. You're not allowed to get hurt. You need to get better. You need to practice. Can't get hurt. Can't be sitting. We're not load managing freshmen, but we need them. Yeah, we need them back, obviously.
Dave? I think the biggest story of the season so far, in my opinion, at least, has been Rafael Castro really looking like, you know, one of the top centers in the conference.
Yeah.
You know, really a game changer. Can you just talk about his start to the season, what you're seeing from him, if there's anything you think he can do better, improvement, just your biggest takeaways from his first 2 games?
He's been great. I think we knew it pretty quickly. His hands are a lot better than, you know, I anticipated. He's got great hands. He's got good instincts. He blocked shots tonight, which is great. Double-double. He's a good player. He's got a chance to be a very, very good player in this league. And the fact that we have him for 2 years, you know, when you start thinking about how do you compete at the top of a league, right? You got to just basically go across the starting 5 and say, where would each guy rank in the league? And it's harder to do now than maybe in the past because, again, you got immediate eligibility transfers, you got COVID year, you got guys in their 6th year, their 5th. I'm looking at some of the rosters in our league, and listen, if I had the luxury of doing it, I would have, but there's circumstances that give us the youth that we have, and they're good, talented young players, but guys in their 5th and 6th years. But I do think if you look at Raphael, if you look at a guy like Darren, I think if you look at the way JaCoy's playing, like you're starting to look at guys who you can plug and say, hey, yeah, are they the best player at that position right now, today? Darren might be, right? But are they, when you think in years ahead, if you can retain, like then you're like, could Rafael Castro be the best center in our league now? Maybe a year from now? That's not like a crazy statement, right? After 3 games, right? JaCoy, hey, where was he as a freshman in all the point guard? He's a freshman point guard in a league full of older guys. All of a sudden, he's starting to play, and you're like, oh, wow, he's getting better and better. And so, okay, and I'll give you another one. I hate to keep saying it. Where's Garrett Johnson rank in that? Pretty high, right? And so that's how you build a roster that's good enough to win in the league, is ultimately the players that are in your rotation have to be, they might have to be first, but they got to be in that category. They can't be like all 8, 9, 10, 11 and think, but we're going to win in the league. We're going to finish top 4. No, they got to be up in that category. And so we're starting to put guys together in that way, I think. The difference is there's millions of dollars involved in this, and there's immediate eligibility, which makes it really, really, you know, guys can come and go.
Yeah, just to sort of follow up on Castro at least. I don't think you've really had as complete of a center in your time at GW as him. Can you just talk about what that allows you to do on both ends of the court, having a player like him? Yeah, I mean, it's fun. What he is he's just so good at the things he's good at. You know, Hunter Dean was not a shooter, not a big lob threat, but he's really good with the ball. So you could play 5 out with him, and he could pass. Some of the things that Sean brings. But he was not a great defender or rebounder. He was okay rebounder, but he's not a great defender. You know, Raphael is a lob threat. He's a very good rebounder. He's now shown the ability to make some passes, maybe not quite as good as Hunter or Sean right now. That's why him and Sean work so well together. I couldn't get those guys in together tonight much because of how small NCA&T played. And so I tried it once, and I was like, that's not a good idea. You know, I wanted to see if that would work. So, yeah, he's making free throws, knock on wood. Like, the guy is going to be a good player. He is a good player. I think he'd be a very good player here.
So Trey Autry, you know, career high last game. We see him play a lot of big minutes down the stretch, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Can you talk about, you know, the growths that you've seen from him coming into this year on the defensive end as well?
Yeah, just high effort guy, high effort, high care factor, sometimes too much, you know, really just wants to really be good and contribute, and he is very reliable, right? Like, he's making some shots, it's really good, but he's reliable. Like, for the most part, not going to turn it over. Although it's my fault that they turned it over there against the press the one time. It was like I saw the train wreck getting ready to happen, and I was kind of contemplating calling a timeout, and I said, let me see if they can get this in, and then they didn't, so it's my fault. But he's a super reliable guy, easy to play with.
Yeah, obviously you have 4 really talented guards, right? Moss, Hutchinson, you just mentioned Autry, and now Jones, right? The redshirt freshman
Yeah.
in these crucial minutes. What are some deciding factors that like let 2 guys rise above in these pressure moments? Like, what are the things you're looking for to start 2 over?
Yeah. Some of it starts with just a long sample size of practice and having a lot of data from practice. But then that kind of goes out the window when the game starts, right? And you're trying to figure out, okay, who's competing on both ends at a high level. But again, you got redshirt freshman, sophomore. Nice thing is Trey Moss got 2 years too, right? So we have 2 years with Trey Moss, which is great. So still young players that don't, they haven't like totally established a reputation yet or anything where you can say, hey, they've really clearly put themselves in a different place. What I would say is JaCoy is becoming a guy that's, again, hard. He plays both ends. He's very trustworthy. And when he makes shots like he did tonight, we need that, right? And so you're trying to find that as well. I'm glad, again, Christian and JaCoy tonight were almost a little bit like Sean and Slim, where it's like there's times you'd like to play them together. I just couldn't see it with the matchups.
Coming out of that first timeout in the second half when A&T kind of went on their run, what's said in the huddle? And I mean, obviously there were some substitutions that happened, but
Yeah.
what's the game plan?
Yeah, I mean, I just challenged them. It was really one-on-one. I mean, it's not like plays. It's not like, well, hey, we're not guarding this well or whatever. It was like, hey, we're going to have to guard the individual players better. They're shooting pull-up jump shots. We got to be up at the level. We have to have a better help side. But ultimately, the shots that were going in were not like the stuff that was going to the basket as much. And again, I got to watch it. But like some of those Forrest, I mean, he's taking like unconscious. And it's like, guys, at some point, you got to make them miss. Good players, sometimes you have to make them miss because if you don't sometimes you give maximum effort, they still make a shot. If you give like 80%, now they're really feeling it. And so, yeah, no, I mean, we challenge them and I hoard my timeouts, as you know, and, kind of looking back at it, should I have called one? Maybe. But I had one in the bank for the end of the game. So that, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. I mean, we take the lead again. Now they're fouling. We're being pressed. How many possessions, right? I called maybe one timeout there. I wanted to make sure I had enough for that situation. And that's a hard thing. And I could see somebody saying, man, he should have called timeout when they went on that run. Maybe. But then I'm also looking at the media timeouts too and saying, we're going to get a media here pretty quick. I'm just going to hold on to my timeouts as best I can.
Anything else, Scott?
6 days until your next game against NCA&T. What's the focus going back into practice for the team?
Yeah, Thursday's going to be a day of things that I know we need to address, but we haven't had a chance to because we're in preparation mode. So some of this end of game stuff, some of the zone stuff, both ends, like some things that I know we're going to need that you don't spend quite enough time on because we're not preparing. And then we're going to give days off in between, like, so we're going to Wednesday, Friday off, and then Saturday, Sunday becomes, really good preparation practices, and then you play Monday, and, we're not going to practice much then. Then you're going to play these games, and you're going to get such a big sample size of play against really good teams, and you'll come back and learn a lot from the trip. But college basketball, you have a lot of practice, and now, believe it or not, you wind up not having quite as much practice as you would, think or need or whatever.
Anything else?
Yeah, Darren Buchanan's got 3 double-doubles to start the year. I mean, he's obviously just stepped into a greater role this year, but is there anything that you've noticed he's just doing differently that you guys have worked on? Or
It's just his maturity level. He's 20, just turned 20 in July. He's just such a good competitor. He's got a will to win, building out a will to prepare. He's I think for a young person, you know, he he looks like a man, and yet he just turned 20. And so there's a lot of things that he can get better at, both on the court and off the court. But he's a great competitor, and he's, I think we use the term, you get thrown in the fire. Like, he's been thrown in the fire quite a bit now, and, you know, it's, those returns hopefully are going to be both immediate, but also long term. And that's the long view is kind of what we've done here. I think you guys have seen we're not bringing in 8 fifth and sixth year guys here. We're trying to do it. Now we're gonna have our transfers like everybody else, but we're trying to do it in a way that potentially could build out some stability for the program long term if we can do the things that I think we can do. And he's such a big part of that.
Anything else? Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Always great to have so many guys in here.